Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Clarksville's Political Forum. I'm Van Stokes, your moderator for today's session, and on behalf of Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce, we're glad you could join us today. Once again, today's forum is coming to you from the facilities of the Mass Communications Department here on the campus of Austin Peay State University. And as always, our forum is intended to give you, the voter, an informed choice when you go to the polls to vote for your candidate of choice on August the 2nd. In this session, we're going to have the opportunity to talk with the candidates who will be on the ballot for Montgomery County Commissioner from District Number 3. And to my left, they are Ms. Joanne Latz, Mr. Sean Rice, Mr. Joe Smith, and Mr. Ed Baggett. Now, in a moment, they will each have 2 minutes in which to present opening comments from their seats at the table. Our closing comments will be given in reverse order from the opening comments at the conclusion of this session. Following our opening remarks, we're going to turn to our panelists for questions. They are on my right, Mr. Jay Albertia, Mr. Lee Irwin, and Mr. Jimmy Settle. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each question, and responses will come in a rotating order. And at the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes in which to present a closing statement. And as I previously indicated, the closing statements will come in reverse order from the opening comments. Our timekeeper for this session is Miss Yvonne Pickering. County commissioners are voted into office for 4-year terms, and they are elected by voters in their respective districts. The county commission meets twice monthly to discuss and vote on a variety of resolutions, including county government policy, county budget, school system budget, property tax rates, and more. County commissioners serve on various committees which are devoted to specific departments or subject areas, and they range from the county jail to animal control. Let's go now to our candidates, and we will hear opening comments first from Ms. Joanne Latz.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Latz, and I'm a candidate for County Commissioner District 3. I am a veteran of the United States Army and a parent of 2 boys, both who either graduated from Austin Peay or are currently students here at Austin Peay, and we're also products of the Clarksville-Montgomery County school system. I would like to acknowledge that my life lessons has taught me the importance of community, and it will be a privilege to serve the residents here in Montgomery County. I feel that having the opportunity to be a voice for our community as far as how our monies are spent, how resources are used to make a much better quality of life for residents here in the community is very important. I feel that my experience with working and volunteering with different organizations, and those organizations range from being a member of the Minority Contact, which is part of the Tennessee Commission for Children and Youth, also member of the Veterans Treatment Court as a mentor. I work there with them, and also with the Human Relations Commission. I think my experience and my volunteerism with those organizations will help me serve the residents of Montgomery County. I ask that you will consider voting for me as your County Commission representative August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear opening comments from Mr. Sean Rice.
Hello, my name is Sean Rice. I'm running for County Commissioner District 3. I'm a retired Army veteran, combat tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. I'm a 17-year volunteer fire department. I have a master's degree in organizational management and a bachelor's degree in homeland security. My philosophy on government is that the people should decide what is best for government, and government that governs least governs best. My whole adult life, I've given myself to give to others, like my parents taught me to. As a firefighter, I've been served our country in the military, and also a Eagle Scout Award. Thank you. On August 2nd, I wish you would consider me to vote for.
Thank you very much for those opening remarks. We go next to Mr. Joe Smith.
First, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Austin Peay for hosting us here today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Joe Smith. I was born and raised right here in Clarksville, Tennessee, graduated from Clarksville High School. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran with 5 years and honorably discharged in 2007. I've been a firefighter with the city of Clarksville for almost 10 years now, where I run the rescue truck. I'm also managed Jody's Cabinet Sales down on Riverside Drive. My ability to lead, it comes naturally, but I've always had a heart of a civil servant from my time in the military and my time as a firefighter, and now my time trying to run for a political office. I want to bring some common sense back to Montgomery County government and help us keep our tax rates low, but also find creative and innovative ways to fund new projects for Montgomery County, because we are a growing county and we need to see those projects for our lifestyles here and for our children and our grandchildren as they come up through the ages. On August 2nd, I sure would appreciate your support and your vote. If you can, make sure you get out there and register to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll hear opening comments from Mr. Ed Baggett.
Good afternoon. I also would like to thank the Chamber and Leadership Clarksville for putting this forum on. My name is Ed Baggett, 61 years of age, lifelong resident of Clarksville, Montgomery County, grew up in Cunningham, and spent the last 40 years in District 3. I'm married to Cindy Albright Baggett. We have 2 wonderful children, our son Josh Baggett and our daughter Peyton Baggett. Josh is married to Betsy Armstead Baggett, and we have a granddaughter that is very dear to us, Miss Olivia Marie. I'm a graduate of Montgomery Central. Been in the volunteer fire service for almost 32 years. That's kind of how I got into the political part of it. Mr. Guy Hollis, who used to serve as county commissioner, got me involved in it. And that's how I wound up here. I work for Montgomery County Emergency Management Agency as director, and I'm also Montgomery County Fire Chief. I started out at East Montgomery Volunteer Fire Service. I spent about 24 years as chief there, then went into deputy county fire chief, and now the county fire chief. And that's what got me involved in county government and emergency management. Attend Forest Street United Methodist Church. Also involved with many different activities such as Austin Peay Gov Club, Habitat for Humanity, Relay for Life, and the list goes on. I've been serving as county commissioner since 2002, which is almost 16 years, and served on more than 20 committees. I ask you August 2nd to vote for me as your county commissioner. Thank you.
And thank you very much to each of our candidates for your opening remarks. Let's now turn to our panelists who have a number of questions they would like to ask you. We'll begin with Mr. J. Albertia, and the first response will come from Ms. Lotz.
Ms. Lotz, there are a lot of issues facing our county government right now, but what do you think are the top 2 issues that are facing our county government right now, and how do you plan to deal with them if elected?
I think one of the most important issues here in Montgomery County is the growth that we are experiencing. Our growth, we are on pace to be the 4th largest city here in the state of Tennessee, and that's very that puts us in a very peculiar situation. And I think that planning for that growth in our infrastructure is very important. The second most important issue is our schools. We currently have top-rated schools here in Montgomery County, but we need to work on issues to make sure that we continue on the pace that we currently are able to accomplish with our school system and the positive role that they are playing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rice?
There's 3 areas I see that is the most important. One is infrastructure, 2 is schools, and 1 is providing emergency services as well. That is well funded, well equipped, and well trained. And as most everybody doesn't know, our county fire department is volunteered. It runs off donation with some money from the county. with the growth of our county, we need to first rely on good roads so we can support the growth.
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith.
Personally, I think that infrastructure is one of our greatest needs. Currently, we have some major projects going around all over Clarksville and Montgomery County that are working hand in hand with TDOT, and that is a great thing. It's a giant step forward from the stagnant state we were in there for a while. I think we need to continue to build those relationships with TDOT and continue to get more projects funded through state and federal funding so that we're not relying solely on our taxpayers to do road work here in Montgomery County. I'd also like to say that schools are the second most important thing, because we have a child growth here in Montgomery County with new people arriving here and with people having more children who already live here. Our schools are busting at the seams, and we need to get that under control.
Thank you. And Mr. Ed Baggett.
Yes, I too think growth is one of our big issues that we have. Infrastructure, schools and stuff all goes in hand with the growth. Schools, we're moving at a fast pace on those. We've been building schools quite often, and we're going to have to stay on that pace, but we have to educate our children. We've got to keep up with the times. Infrastructure, a lot of it comes from the state. Some of it comes from local, but 80% of it probably comes from the state. We need to stay on our state legislators to move forward with infrastructure here in Clarksville. The finishing up the 374 connector around to 149 to make the full loop around Clarksville will really help. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lee Irwin, you have the next question, and it will go to Mr. Sean Rice.
Mr. Rice, you alluded to this in your opening statements, but what kind of management, organizational experience, or education do you have to bring to the office of County Commissioner for District 3?
I have 21 years in the military, which is a non-commissioned officer. I taught soldiers how to handle themselves in stressful areas, like during combat and stuff like this, forums, which makes me nervous, but it's fine. I think that as my experience as both living here in Clarksville and as living from my hometown, because I'm not originally from here, I've lived both in the city and I've both lived in the country. And it gives me the perspective to understand both sides of the coin.
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith.
My leadership ability comes from the fact that I have been raised as a leader in the Marine Corps, as a sergeant with about 40 Marines under my charge at one time. You learn to adapt and deal with people's personal issues and also with their life issues. So that's helped me create a leadership ability that most people don't have. So what I want to do is apply that to county government and allow myself to listen to my constituents, entertain every idea that they have, but also find a way to seek answers. And if I don't know the answers, I'm sure we can find somebody who does know the answer.
Mr. Baggett.
Thank you. Could you repeat that question?
What type of management, organizational experience, or education do you have to bring to the office of District 3 Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Yes, serving as a county commissioner for the last almost 16 years gives me that experience. Serving on all the committees, over 20 committees that I've served on, also as mayor pro tem. So over the years, I've learned a lot. When you first come into the county commission, it's a learning curve, it's a learning experience. I've been there, done that, and I have the leadership skills to move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Lotz.
Yes, my experience has prepared me for this position as in many different ways. I am a person who feels that the best way to lead people is to make sure that they're informed. An informed person can make coherent decisions as far as things that matters to them, that matters to their community. I also have my bachelor's degree from St. Martin's University and my master's in HR from Chapman University. So along with my military experience and my education and my continued volunteering in the community, I believe in equipping people with information and knowledge. And if I don't have the ability to do so, I will definitely find those that can answer the questions for those that are in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jimmy Settle, you have the next question, and it will go to Mr. Joe Smith.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, I've heard all four of you talk about, the schools being one of the top priorities in dealing with the growth and schools busting at the seams and that sort of thing. And you all represent a district where that is kind of happening right now. And structurally, we have a school board, we have a county commission. School board sends the county commission its proposed budget, but county commission really doesn't have line item discretion over that budget. Do you think that should change, that the county commission should have more authority over saying, not only this is how much money you can spend, but this is how you can spend it?
I do feel that the county commission should have some oversight over the school board. We elect the school board also, but the county commissioners are elected to represent the people and use that money wisely, and they need to have an ability to oversight what they're budgeting. I mean, no company in their right mind would go out and just say, here, I trust this little affiliate of ours, here's this much money, without telling them what they're doing. So I do believe that some of the items definitely need to be itemized and shown to the commissioners to give them an exact idea of what they're going to be spending money on.
Thank you, Mr. Baggett.
Yes, I too agree with that somewhat, but we have to be careful not try to micromanage the school system. It's state law. We have to abide by that. I would like for the county commission to have a little more insight and a little more say on how the budget's spent. But there again, we have guidelines we have to go by, and the state controls that.
Thank you. Ms. Lentz.
I think the county commission having insight as to how the school board is spending the monies that have been allocated to them, I think that is a good option. However, I will agree that micromanaging, we have to be very careful not to micromanage. And the reason for that being is the school board, they're elected officials the same as we are with the county commissioner. So they've been entrusted to make decisions that are in the best interest for our schools. However, there does have to be some oversight, some responsibility as far as how the monies that are being spent, because it is taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rice.
As it is said, the school committee is voted by the voters. They've been given that responsibility to educate our children, find out what is best. On the other hand, we need to have a working relationship with both the county commissioner and the school boards to find out how we can give the freedom to the teachers to educate our children in the best manners as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's continue with the questioning. Mr. J. Alberti, you have the next question, and it will go to Mr. Ed Baggett for the first response.
Mr. Baggett, we're going to be facing pretty soon a question on consolidation. I understand that the document is not completed yet. However, I've got a yes or no question and then a why question at the end. Do you support consolidation, yes or no, and why for whatever your answer is?
Well, Mr. Alberti, really, I can't give you a yes or no answer on it because the charter has not been written. And I think until the charter is written and complete, where everybody can see how it affects them, what they're paying for the services they receive, it's hard to say, yes, I'm for it, no, I'm not. I think we're all looking forward to that. I think come August is a projected time frame. We'll just have to wait and see what comes out of it. And at that time, you can make a formed decision on which way you want to go.
Ms. Lutz.
Yes, I also agree that currently there is not enough information to make an informed decision about the current charter and the consolidation that is being proposed. There is a wealth of information that needs to be gathered, and to make sure that as someone who's campaigning to represent the district, I have to make sure that I have as much information as possible to make sure that I'm representing the people here in Montgomery County. And currently, that information is not available. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Rice.
Right now, as it stands, for the information that is out there, I stand against the county commission consolidation. One, they have not given us fully enough information how much it's going to cost us. Also, that the time as they've been taking is they should have already had drafted it by now. Because if you look through our history, it took the founders of our nation less than 6 months to come up with 3 different types of documents for our Constitution, and they should have already done this by now.
Mr. Joe Smith.
Right now, nobody can make an informed decision until the final document's out. To make an uninformed decision is just not going to be something that I'm going to do personally. I think one of the biggest things I'm hearing from constituents is that they think that the county commissioners are the ones who are going to be voting on this. And to inform everybody, that is not the case. This is in the hands of the people of the whole county, whether they live in the city or the county. It is up to every single citizen to get out there and register to vote and make sure that you vote what you feel, what your need is for consolidated government. That's one of the biggest things that I get asked on the campaign trail right now, is if I'm for or against consolidated government, and I tell them that I'm going to reserve my right to say yes or no until I see the full document. With that being said, once the full document is presented, I'm going to hold monthly town hall meetings out in District 3 to educate everybody on the document so we can go over section by section.
Thank you very much. Let's continue with our questioning. It will come from Mr. Lee Irwin, and your question will go to Ms. Letts.
Ms. Latz, you often hear people in Montgomery County say there's nothing to do, nowhere to go. What quality of life issues do you feel Montgomery County could do a better job of providing for the citizens?
I think one very important aspect is making sure that there are activities and places to go for our youth and community. I think in each district there needs to be a place for our youth to gather, to learn, and to participate in things that that are contributing to their growth. As far as the adults here in the community, there's constantly opportunities that are taking place. There's the opportunity to volunteer. Unfortunately, we have a huge homeless population that is continuing to grow here. So there's many opportunities to give back and be and to participate within our community here. So if you look hard enough, you will find things to do. But I do think we need to do more with having activities for our youth in their current districts.
Mr. Rice.
My philosophy on that answer is it's not government's job to entertain our children or ourselves. It's up to us as individuals to guide where we need to go and what we want to do. It's not government's place. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
I think that so far we've done pretty well with our Parks and Rec department in the county. They've completed Rich Ellen Park recently, multiple phases of additions to Civitan Park. They've got the proposed nature center at the Rotary Park, and even out in District 3 we finally had a huge hurdle jump this past month when they announced that they were going to fund the building for remodeling the old Fredonia schoolhouse, which is amazing for District 3. We've been waiting on that for several years. As far as quality of life, Montgomery County is a great place to live. And if you don't think so, just take a look around. Go for a walk one evening. Enjoy the trails, the greenways, the blueways, everything that Montgomery County has to offer. It's just one click away on your phone, and you can find tons of things to do.
Thank you. Mr. Baggett?
Yes, I too, I'm proud of what Clarksville Montgomery County has done, especially the county has really put a lot of money out in Civitan Park, Rich Ellen Park, like Joe was saying. We have moved forward the Commons area downtown, with also the ice skating ring during the winter time. There's many different activities kids and families can do as a family function. That's something you don't see in a lot of places. We've done that here. I think it's doing good. Can we do more? Absolutely. But we have to be careful with county tax dollars. There's only so many there, and you have to spread it between everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy Settle, your question goes to Mr. Sean Rice for the first response.
Thank you. So, Mr. Rice, to sort of follow up to Lee's question about quality of life, this current county administration has placed a great deal of emphasis on downtown revitalization, which in some circles is sort of viewed as a non-traditional function of county government. Your thoughts on that? Downtown commons, tax increment financing to stimulate downtown business development, and should county government be involved in that?
My philosophy is that government should not get involved in any type of business. We're trying to pick winners or losers. Most of the times we wind up picking the losing side as government. What we should do is decrease regulations, allow businesses to expand when they can expand, allow them the freedom to find out what it works best for them. If we keep interfering with them and deciding who's the winners and losers, it's not government's place to do that.
Mr. Smith?
I think Montgomery County has done a great job in the last few years of taking the leaps and bounds forward to revitalize downtown. Introducing the TIF offered a new incentive to property investors to offset property taxes for about a 15 to 20 year period. That property was already not drawing much on the tax roll, so it's not a hurt for Montgomery County citizens. What it is it's a way to bring investments and property values to be increased through those investments. And within about 15 to 20 years, when our kids are trying to figure out this budget, hopefully, then they're going to have more funding because the property rolls are going to be a lot higher at that time. It's just a matter of numbers game. And if you sit down and you go and look at Bowling Green, who introduced a TIF, if you look at some other places around the country, it really helped revitalize those areas. And I think Clarksville downtown is on a roll right now. Montgomery County led the way on that.
Thank you, Mr. Baggett.
Yes, I was a little skeptical when we first started the talk about the Commons area and the TIF program, but I've been real pleased with the outcome of it so far. And I think there's better things to come. Looking forward for the future of it. I think it will help revitalize downtown. But I think we need to extend that out in the county somewhat. But it's mainly for downtown area. Austin Peay is also involved in it. We're proud they're on board with it. And I think it's going to be a big plus for Montgomery County.
And Ms. Latz.
Yes, I think there's a fine line that we need to toe when it comes to offering tax incentives to developers to come into the downtown area. The downtown area can really be a place where it's more of a walkable community, and it could be a tax base if we chose to highlight more housing, more incentives that bring more people, because we have the university that neighbors downtown. And I think if we structure and we use the location and the tools, it could be something that will continue to grow. The improvements that have happened down there, I think, are very beneficial to the community. We just need to work on continuing to improve it, and also make better use of our tax base by having housing and other facilities of that mean. Thank you.
Thank you. You are watching Clarksville's Political Forum. We are meeting with candidates who will be on the ballot on August the 2nd in the state primary and county general elections to represent Montgomery County on the commission from District Number 3. They are Ms. Joanne Latz, Mr. Sean Rice, Mr. Joe Smith, and Mr. Ed Baggett. We have time for one more round of questions from each of our panelists. Mr. J. Alberti, you have the next question, and it will go to Mr. Joe Smith for the first response.
Mr. Smith, we've talked about the overall issues that face our county. What are some specific issues to your district that you're running for that you would like to address if elected?
I'd like to address several infrastructure issues, but also right now we also have an opioid epidemic. Not a lot of people are aware of it. With my job, it's kind of a little more insight into it. We need to work with the state, and our sheriff's department is working as hard as they can right now. We have heroin and methamphetamine rolling through our county right now at an unprecedented rate, and we need to get a handle on that, whether it's everything from educating parents to teaching their kids not to use drugs to getting our patrol officers more sheriff's deputies on the road, I guess you would say, so that they can patrol harder and they can find these people and they can put them behind bars. And we also need to upgrade those laws. A drug dealer should not be back out on the streets within a year of being caught. There just shouldn't be happening because he goes right back to selling.
Mr. Baggett?
Thank you. In District 3, I think some of the concerns about our infrastructure is one of the big things, roads. Also, what really concerns the residents in District 3, when you get out and you have rezoning cases, that's something they can take real personal, especially if it's property adjoining their property. They take it personal, and it can be a little exciting at times. But that's things that really concern them, and I, as a commissioner, and represent them. I listen to them, and I vote the way they want me to vote. I'm always available to them. And that's some of the things that we work on directly. Like Joe was saying, of course, the opioid addiction is a big problem. I think all fire departments, EMS and everything are struggling to battle that situation, but we're doing the best we can do. Thank you.
Ms. Latz?
I think that infrastructure is a very important aspect in District 3. The district is continuing to grow, and with the rezoning and more homes going up. So there definitely needs to be a well thought out plan as to how do we continue to accommodate the residents that are coming into the district. The other aspect is safety. When we tackle the opioid epidemic that is currently going on, I think education needs to start at the schools. That's very important. We have to start educating our youth. We have to start, instead of pretending that the problem doesn't exist, we need to tackle it, and we need to make sure that we are informing people and allowing them opportunities to have better jobs, to have other opportunities and things to do without going into drugs. Thank you.
Mr. Rice?
First, we need to improve our infrastructure, like everybody agrees here. Our EMS, our fire, our police. Most people don't know that we've had several store robberies. The Dollar General on Highway 12 has been robbed twice. XL Market has been robbed twice. They ain't even been robbed last night. We need to improve our sheriff's department so they can go out there, patrol the streets, and make our area safe for our community and our people to enjoy the life of our country. As of the opiates, it's kind of a mixed game. We have to educate the parents, not us as representatives, through the schools and through any available opportunities to let them know how to deal and teach our kids not to use drugs.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee Irwin, your question goes to Mr. Ed Baggett.
Mr. Baggett, of course, it's important to hear from your constituents. How do you propose to stay connected with the residents of District 3 to increase their involvement in planning for the county's future?
Yes, Lee, that's pretty simple. Email, Facebook, telephone. I mean, there's many different ways they can contact me. I put stuff out on Facebook. That's the way we have to keep connected with the community. Everything's moving at a fast pace now. Getting out and talking and shaking hands with every individual is almost impossible, even though we all try to do it. It's hard to catch people at home. Everybody's got a busy schedule and working. So I think the best way, of course, is social media, email, and Facebook. Thank you.
Ms. Latz.
There are different unincorporated communities in the district, and I think it's important to stay in touch with the citizens that live in those stretches of the community by going to their area and having forums, letting people know that you are available, letting them know that you are concerned about the interests and the things that are important to them that's happening in their neighborhood. We have to make ourselves available for people personally. Yes, it's wonderful for people to send us emails or to correspond online, but we need to get out and we need to see the effects and how people are living, and the only way to see that is to go into the communities and to let them know that you care as their elected representative.
Mr. Rice.
When you elect me, I will hold monthly meetings. Also, you'll be able to contact me by phone, Facebook. Right now, I have a big following on Facebook, a big imprint out there. I push issues that I think is most important. Plus, I draw back information from other people, what they think about what is important to them in the district, and that's the best way to do it. Just contact me any way possible. Smoke signals, emails, call me anytime you want. I'm available. So just, if you have any questions, just contact me. I'll try to find the right answer, or we'll find the answer together.
Mr. Smith.
I believe town hall meetings are important so you can get face-to-face time. So we are going to have town hall meetings once I'm elected. Also, my phone number is on every piece of literature I pass out. My email is on every piece of literature. I believe that people need to have the ability to contact their commissioner for anything that they feel is important to them. That's an issue of county government. I let everybody know that I'm available 24/7. If I don't answer your phone call, I will get back to you, I promise. It's one of the hardest things ever is to run a business, but also run for a campaign. You wait for the phone call, you get it, and once you get a voicemail, you return the phone call, and people are happy that they're actually hearing a voice on the other end of the line.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jimmy Settle, you have the last question from our panelists to our candidates today, and it will go to Ms. Joanne Latz for the first response.
Thank you. Ms. Latz, the buzzword continues to be growth in these conversations that we have. But what we're finding now is that the character of our growth in Montgomery County is changing. From traditional sources of growth like Fort Campbell to Nashville commuters who are now moving here and building homes here because it's more affordable to live here than it is in Davidson County. There are concerns about continued subdivision development in traditionally rural areas of Montgomery County. What are the implications of this, and what are we going to have to do as far as revisiting our urban growth plan? Are we going to have to revise this to revise our boundaries of sprawl in this community? Is this the beginning of a totally new definition of urban sprawl for us?
I think the word urban sprawl is a negative connotation. One thing that we do throughout life is we grow. Growth is a positive, but to make sure that is reflective positively here in Montgomery County, we need to make sure that it's planned, that there are resources available for these subdivisions that are going up, that there are things available for the kids and for the families that are coming into our community. So we need to look at what can we do to offer a quality of life for the people who are choosing to move to our community, instead of just looking at the fact of, okay, we've built a subdivision, we've profited off of that, the rest is not any of our is not our responsibility. There is a continued responsibility that we have to citizens that continue to move here to Montgomery County.
Mr. Rice.
As our community grows, it's linked to two areas, Fort Campbell and Nashville. As Nashville grows, we are going to grow. And what we need to do is come up with means to forecast that. Also, before that, we need to improve the infrastructure so that we can handle the growth of new residents to the area. Is one of the new areas that is growing is in the Sangle area. Sangle Road is not built to handle the new housings that is going in there. It is important that we project to see where this is going and make that adjustment as we go along.
Mr. Smith.
As a supplier to a lot of the home builders in the area, we end up seeing the growth really firsthand. You can see a lot of the rural areas. It's not even big subdivisions that are being built. You're seeing a lot of single-family residential homes popping up all over in the rural areas of Montgomery County. And that's because it's not a commissioner's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just maybe a farmer got tired. He worked hard his whole life, and he's ready to make a little bit of money to go retire. So he sells off his land to a developer or to a contractor who breaks it up into a few lots for single-family residential construction, and they put it on there. I would say if you feel like you really want to cling to the rural life, make sure you have enough land to have a buffer zone between you and a development. I mean, it's hard to do, and I can't sit here and tell everybody to go take out a loan, but if you really enjoy the rural life, that's about the only option you have.
And Mr. Baggett.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a hard one. I think we've got a challenge ahead of us as far as the subdivisions. They keep coming. There too, we're running out of property. We're running out of people that want to sell their property. A lot of the ones out in the rural area will not sell. We still have those that do sell. Like Joe said, they get tired. They're tired of farming, tired of the upkeep, so they'll up and sell. I think I served on the Residential Development Committee several years ago. I think they are still working on a different plan, trying to get a little more dense zoning in town. Out in the rural areas, it's hard to do with the volunteer fire department and not having sewer available. So that sort of is a difficult situation to work with.
Thank you very much. That concludes the questions from our panelists. We now go to our closing comments, which will be in reverse order from our opening comments. We will hear first from Mr. Ed Baggett.
Thank you. And again, thank the panel, thank the chamber and leadership Clarksville for putting the forum on. I just say get out August the 2nd, whether you vote for me or who you vote for. I think all these candidates are good. I don't have anything to say about any of them. They're good people. I've got the experience. I've been there. I've always worked for you. I've listened to you, and I'll be there. I'm easy to get a hold of. I have 2 phone numbers, 320-0545-801-3387. I have email. You can hit me on Facebook, whatever. I'm easy to get a hold of. I've only had probably 1 or 2 people tell me they couldn't get a hold of me. If you want me, you can reach me. So get out and vote, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we hear closing comments from Mr. Joe Smith.
I want to thank again the Chamber, Clarksville leadership, and Austin Peay for allowing us to have this forum. Thank all of you for watching. Hope you learned something and hope that we were able to answer all the questions that you had for us. We really appreciate your support and your vote on August 2nd. If you can, make sure you get out there and register. That's the main thing. I don't care if you're voting for me or if you're voting for somebody else, just get out there and register to vote and exercise your rights.
Thank you very much. Next, we have closing comments from Mr. Sean Rice.
I thank the chamber. I like the Clarksville leadership, the viewers for watching us, see where we stand on the issues. It is important that, like we all agree here, that on August 2nd you come out, vote what you think is best for their county. Like my philosophy is best government governs least. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll hear closing comments from Ms. Joanne Lutz.
I'd like to thank the moderators, the university, Austin Peay State University, the Chamber, and Leadership Clarksville for allowing us to have this opportunity to come together to speak to the citizens of Montgomery County. What's most important is that people do vote. You have an opportunity to participate in what goes on in your life and what goes on in your community, but you have to vote. I think the choices that you have this election cycle are great choices. But what we need for you to do and what I need for you to do is to contact me. Let me know that I am, what your concerns are, what issues you have as a resident of Montgomery County. And that way I can make sure that I am addressing the things that are important to you, the things that are important for the community, and most importantly, just please vote August 2nd. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you to each of our candidates today, Ms. Joanne Latz, Mr. Sean Rice, Mr. Joe Smith, and Mr. Ed Baggett, candidates for District Number 3 on the Montgomery County Commission. And most of all, thank you for your willingness to serve in this position. Early voting will take place July the 13th through July the 28th. The location will be at the Election Commission office. That is at 350 Pageant Lane, Suite 404. I want to say thank you also to our panelists today, Mr. Jimmy Settle, Mr. Lee Irwin, and Mr. Jay Albertia. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your questions today. They ranged from needs of this community, from infrastructure to schools to growth. A big question there. Leadership experience, consolidated government, and we even addressed the issue of opioids in and around this area. I want to say thank you to Ms. Yvonne Pickering for serving as our timekeeper today, as well as a great big thanks to the Mass Communications Department here at Austin Peay State University for making this broadcast possible. And a special note of appreciation to Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce who made this forum possible. Until next time, I'm Van Stokes. Thank you for watching.